Hi, this is Bob Costas, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
And away we go, the ML Sports Platter, all over the major platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We are presented by Bryant and Stratton College and Welch & Company Jewelers. Log on to welchjewelers.com today. Shop the showcase, engagement rings, wedding rings, you name it, they've got it. Just a great place to get your jewelry, watches, necklaces, bracelets. Welch & Company Jewelers online. Go shop the showcase at welchjewelers.com. Tip of the cap, thank you as well to Rosie's Corner and the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group. Can't wait to talk with our next guest, Kevin Rich, a good buddy of mine. He's doing amazing things out in Albany as a general manager for Town Square Media, a great cluster of radio stations. And of course, he is the host of Hail to the Pod, which is on Michigan and Big Ten football. And so we're going to get into, horse racing here. We're going to get into Michigan football. We're going to get into Michigan basketball. We're going to get into all sorts of things. A little Stanley Cup playoffs as well. You can get Kevin on Twitter at krich23. That's at krich23. Kevin, welcome aboard, bud. How are you?
Mike, it's been a long time, man. I'm doing great. How about you?
Things are well. Things are busy. Obviously, it's nice to have the weather back as well. Let's get right into it. A few topics here. I want to start with just your overall, Preakness feelings, takeaways. What you thought of the race. I thought it was a really good one.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Unfortunately, the horse that I was betting to win, Midnight Bourbon, didn't pull it out, but Rumbauer, just an incredible late kick that horse had to get down the stretch there and win. I thought it was great. I think those of us that follow horse racing, very closely, you hate to see things that happen that take away the interest of the sport, like with what's going on with Bob Baffert right now. So, for people that are kind of casual horse racing fans that get into it during Triple Crown, to obviously see, Medina Spirit, have a positive test, and it wasn't really a performance-enhancing drug by any means, but a medication that, the one trainer that couldn't afford to have that was had that happen to him was Bob Baffert, based on what had been happening to him previously. So, that kind of, it's upsetting because, you try and adapt and bring more people to enjoy the sport and follow it for more than just the Triple Crown season. But the fact that Midnight Bourbon and Rombauer put on a show and Rombauer won that race, last Saturday, I thought, was good. It got away from if Bob Baffert's horse would have won, whether he was there or not. Took away some of that. I'm losing a word here that I was looking for there, but it made the Preakness a lot better in my mind.
So let's go there next. The Baffert situation. It's so strange because it's a weird drug. It's not a direct, as you said, performance enhancer. It's illegal in some states, legal in others. There's different rules, regulations, etc. But from a Baffert standpoint, Kevin, why even chance anything? Why even do anything?
No kidding, Mike. He had just come under so much scrutiny after, he's got a tainted Triple Crown winner. And of course, we saw the Triple Crown win down at Belmont back when you and I went in 2018. But a lot of this is tainted now based on, what was called out on him before for using, illegal performance-enhancing drugs in a sense, if we wanted to relate it to what we see in other sports with his horses. So I agree with you. It's like, why be in a position that, Kentucky Derby, millions of people watching in the U.S.,
sure,
even millions more worldwide, biggest race of the year, and then your horse fails a test after the fact. And, for him to go out and say, he didn't know, and he almost made it sound like, someone did it to, put him in a bad light. And then he went on this PR tour, and it just didn't add up. And it still doesn't add up. And that's why you're seeing horse racing organizations like the New York Racing Association, which oversees Belmont, oversees Saratoga here in my backyard, basically suspend Bob Baffert, temporarily, of course, but until more information is brought up. It's very bad. It's the one of the biggest names in the sport having some very bad things follow him, and it's just not good for horse racing right now.
When you're so great at something, that's the part that bothers me. You're already so great. You're the king of the sport, and he still messes around with that stuff. That's the kind of thing that bothers me. It's almost almost makes me feel like a Barry Bonds type situation or something. Or the Patriots when they did Spygate, or any of these other things. Houston Astros. You're already really good. Just be really good.
I agree. I mean, it's very disappointing. We'll find out more in the next couple of weeks. The way it works is they, Medina Spirit failed the one test for this remnants of this drug in his system. Again, I think it's important to point out it's not performance enhancing by any means. I don't, from what I hear from folks I know that follow the sport, veterinarians that are involved in the sport, that should not have given Medina Spirit any edge in the race. Kind of more of an anti-inflammatory situation, but still, it's just you can't. I tell you, Mike, you can't risk it in that situation. The biggest race of the year, and it's certainly something that I think is going to continue to follow him where he goes. And it's a bad look in horse racing right now. So having Rumbauer win the race, win the Preakness, we've got some great horses that will be racing at the Belmont. I think Todd Pletcher is going to be entering one or two horses in that race that will have a really realistic shot of winning. Chad Brown will probably have a horse or two there too. I think we're in a state now where horse racing, and I think Naira did the right thing, trying to distance themselves from Bob Baffert right now, because it's just not a good look for the sport.
How does Saratoga set up, do you think, this year?
I think it's going to be great, Mike. I mean, it's not like there's one great 3-year-old horse right now. And we've even seen, in the years where we have had some of the great 3-year-old horses, they haven't come to Saratoga. It would have been great to see Justify race at Saratoga, although, of course, American Pharoah did after his Triple Crown win. But I think Saratoga is going to be great this year. There's some tremendous, racing that will be held at Saratoga. You look at, the stakes races that they're going to have this year. I mean, it's incredible. It's like every year. I mean, of course, we always look at the Travers and say, hey, that's the Midsummer Derby, the big race of the year. They got the Whitney, of course. They're bringing back some other exciting races from last year. They'll have the Coaching Club American Oaks, the Saratoga Derby Invitational, which will be $1 million race, which will be a lot of fun to watch as well. The Jockey Club Gold Cup, which is a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup. So I think there's going to be some great races, and most importantly, Mike, I think we're entering a situation here that we're going to have fans at the racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's better than that, because I can tell you from being at the racetrack last year and broadcasting the races on 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, it just was very sad to be there and have it be so quiet because there were some incredible races last year. And I think about how nuts that place would have been having fans there, especially on Travers Day when Tiz the Law had that lead coming down the stretch. The local racehorse, man, I tell you, that place would have been rocking. So I'm excited for Saratoga this season and what will come.
There's no doubt. The fan total, is it? I mean, we still have a little ways to go, and obviously the Travers, goodness, in August, you look at, we're in May, so you go May to June, July. I mean, you got a few months, and the races before that. Could you see a possibility where it's almost at capacity by the time that the season ends around that Travers, Labor Day time period? Do you think that we could have a full house by then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at where we're at right now. I mean, the Yankees. It's end of May right now. The Yankees, started the season limited capacity. They're opening up, every game. We see, down with the Islanders, them being able to put quite quite a big crowd there the other night for their game. So I think we're going to see that here. I think that the state continues to open up. I think there's an opportunity here, particularly with having vaccinated sections at the racetrack. I think the real question mark is going to be, how do you handle the picnic areas?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable having groups gather in the picnic area? Do you limit attendance based on that? I don't know. You certainly have more of a ability to limit capacity and space people out in sections under the covered areas in the clubhouse and grandstand and in the stretch and some of the other areas they have there. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But I mean, could there be 10,000, 12,000, 15,000? Maybe that's the cap. Certainly. But I think that's still going to be a really great crowd. So we'll see what happens. But I think there's a lot that will happen between then and now.
Kevin Rich, our guest here, of course, hail to the pod all over the major platforms on Michigan and Big Ten football, and doing great things out there in the Capital Region. Town Square Media GM on Twitter at KRich23. Kevin, there's just nothing like the Stanley Cup playoffs, man. I mean, these games have been amazing, huh?
They've been great. And, I always say this about the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Stanley Cup playoffs is by far, not only are they playing for the best trophy in all sports, but it is the only postseason tournament professionally, because I think you can go down that road with March Madness, but it's the only professional sport here in the U.S. that when your team is not in it, you can still, and I know you know where I'm going with this, you can still be hooked and watch any game, any given night, because the competition and what they're playing for and how hard they battle it out every night is just incredible must-see television.
Oh yeah, I'm getting very used to my team not being in the playoffs and watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. I haven't had them in there in 10 years.
I'm not used to my team not
I
being
know.
in the playoffs,
You're not,
so
yeah, with
it's been
Detroit.
hard for me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Who do you like to go all the way?
Well, all year I've been on the Vegas bandwagon.
Me too.
I think they're phenomenal. But the challenge is they play in a division, and they're going to be playing this team in the next round, it looks like, in Colorado. And Colorado's just been lights out. I mean, I don't know how that first line for the Avalanche
Oh, my gosh.
is so good. And what makes the Avalanche stand out for me is the fact that, in the playoffs, you get a lot of, 5-on-5 hockey, and you're looking for, that big penalty and, the power play coming out and scoring goals. Like Colorado, they don't need to be on the power play, especially that first line. I mean, they can score goals from anywhere. They could be, you could put 6 players on the other side for whoever they're playing against. And that first line is going to be able to score ad nauseum. So, to me, I think Vegas is the team to beat, but I wouldn't be shocked if Colorado, beats them the next round and then goes all the way. One of those two teams, in my opinion, is going to be the Stanley Cup champion.
I mean, Kadri, Landeskog, they have so much depth. McKinnon, by the way, Nathan McKinnon is, I know Connor McDavid gets a ton of the headlines, and rightfully so, probably the best player in the league. I know Austin Matthews, David Pastrnak is fantastic in Boston. I'll tell you what, Kevin, I know people in Colorado would defend this take. You can make the argument Nathan McKinnon's the best player in the NHL.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and Winnipeg is telling you why. Like Winnipeg, you should be giving some money to Winnipeg after they've shut down, Connor McDavid here after the first 2 games, which that's been a shocker. I mean, what's happening in I'm going to call it the Canadian division. I know they're calling it the North Division there, but the fact that Winnipeg's up 2-0. Montreal took that 1-0 lead. Obviously, big injury for the Maple Leafs, and Maple Leafs haven't really done anything in the playoffs the last couple of years. So here we go again with them. But I agree with you. I mean, Colorado's just they're tough, man, and they've got just some excellent players on that team and guys doing incredible things. So I really do. I think the winner's going to come out of the West. And it's going to be from Colorado or Vegas. By
the way, as we record this, too, Vegas is up 2-1 against the Wild, and the Wild is a really good team. So Vegas has to get through them. It's just been incredible. There's so many good teams. There's so much great high competition. And by the way, I think the league really knocked it out of the park with this scheduling. I mean, the divisions this year, it got so fun just a few weeks into the season even, Kevin, because these teams started to really get sick of each other. Like they're playing each other all the time, and we know that causes excitement in hockey. It causes chippiness. Well, guess what? Now these teams, they have to do the play, kind of playoff again in the division. They're meeting up in the division before they move on, and I think that's added even more chippiness and more aggressive play and more fun and great goals and everything else because they've been playing each other in the division and they're sick of each other more now than ever. Now here we go and it's a spectacular product. I think the NHL deserves a lot of credit with their scheduling. How about you?
They do. No, they do. And the raw emotion you're seeing, I mean, when Boston and Washington were tied 1-1, they had a tremendous game the other night that went to double overtime and, just an unfortunate play behind the net and Boston scores. They flashed over to the bench and Ovechkin just shattering his stick. I mean, you can tell he's just so pissed because, every single second, every single play in every game matters. And, they go down 2-1. They lose last night. Now they're down 3-1. They're like, here we go. Here's Boston again. But that was fueled even more by the fact that these teams had played each other so much in the regular season. So I love it. I mean, I don't know that Toronto's going to make it to the final here, but how cool that would be if a team like, Boston, made it out and then played Toronto. And, I mean, when would we ever see that in a Stanley Cup final, Boston and Toronto or Boston and Montreal? Right? I mean, there's just some cool potential matchups that could have set themselves up here, down the road, given how these divisions were set up this year. But they did a great job. The regular season was a ton of fun to watch. And as I hit on earlier, to have your team and my team be as terrible as they were all year, to be able to sit down any given night and, watch a Carolina game, watch a Florida Panther game, watch a Minnesota Wild game, and just, really enjoy the product on the ice and the competition made it a whole lot of fun.
Let's move to just one quick little thing in baseball here. Your Tigers are just, I mean, I feel like they've almost kind of been in rebuild mode forever. When do you think that's going to turn around, that franchise?
Yeah, it's there's definitely a couple years away. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they've got a couple pieces there. The pitching's been okay. They got some hitters. I like what AJ Hinch is doing as the in his manager role. You see guys like Casey Mize, I just mentioned from the pitching standpoint, Spencer Turnbull, who's been pitching lights out. They've got Michael Fulmer. They've got some decent pitching. Cabrera obviously going to be going to the Hall of Fame soon, and he'll be on his way out certainly. And they've got some younger guys, Akil Baddoo, Robbie Grossman, and so on. But Mike, that's a tough division, and it seems they've been in a rebuild here for a couple of years. And I think fans of the Tigers, we were expecting them to be a little bit better right now than they are. I think they're like 18-26. Not really, not great. Certainly at this point. So it's tough. I think they're probably going to be 2-3 years out. I think they've got some good things developing in the farm system. The draft picks they've had certainly have been helpful, but it's not like the White Sox, the Indians, even the Royals, are just going to let them, come back in and take over the Central here anytime soon. So I think we're probably 4 or 5 years away, Mike.
Remember when no-hitters were a special thing? Now they're happening it feels like they happen every other day now.
Yeah, well, we got 6 now, right?
I know, yeah, and if you count Mad Bums, it's 7. This stupid Rob Manfred baseball, the 7-inning no-hitter.
How happy were you the other night for Corey Kluber?
I was happy for him. The no-hitter has lost its luster for me because I think the analytical approach to the game, the way these guys swing for the fences, they're trying to hit the ball over everybody, as trying to hit it over and out. It's created just so many strikeouts, so many home runs. And that means that the pitchers are looking at that and going, well, gosh, I'm going to throw more changeups now. I'm going to throw more splitters now, right? And so that's what's created, I think, more no-hitters. But the Kluber thing, I think his story surpasses even the no-hitter. I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. Did he have when they took a flyer on this guy, does he have anything left in that Cy Young arm? And if he can hold up, I mean, it's going to be huge for them because I think they're going to need two guys behind Cole if they can make a run at this thing in the postseason. We know that Garrett Cole is a monster, but if Corey Kluber can turn into like 75-80% Corey Kluber when he was with Cleveland in his heyday, that's a big jolt for this team.
No, it is. It's just it's amazing to me. Looking at that American League East, I mean, what the Yankees went, they went on a roll on that road trip, and four game win streak now. Yeah. You're still a game and a half back behind Boston. So, be interesting to see. The AL East has been a lot of fun to watch so far, and ideally, the Yankees are going to start separating themselves. They're certainly playing some solid baseball right now.
I don't trust them in the postseason. I've been on that for a long time. I don't trust that the pitching can hold up, and if the pitching doesn't hold up and the bullpen can get taxed and they don't hit well with runners in scoring position, they just cannot get key hits, especially in the postseason. So they still got to prove it to me. Let's end with Michigan sports. Big Ten, we got it rolling right around the corner here. It's unbelievable. I can't wait for college football. What does Michigan look like this year? And is the Jim Harbaugh seat, I know what the contract situation is recently, but is that seat any more warm this year than last year?
I thought we were going to talk basketball. I was going to be happy if we talked Michigan basketball. No,
we are going to talk that next.
Michigan football, I'll tell you what, Mike. It's hard to really gauge last season. College football was a complete mess last year with COVID. The Big Ten started so late.
Yeah.
Most of the games weren't even played. Wisconsin couldn't even play a game, for several weeks. Michigan didn't even play the last couple of games of their season, which led to some of the folks in Ohio thinking Michigan was trying to chicken out of the game. It's like, guys, it's COVID. Like, come on. But, you look, Michigan was 2-4. Penn State, I think they were 2-4. No spring ball, no non-conference warm-up games, none of that last year. The year was a complete mess. So looking ahead to this year, I don't know that certainly doesn't give Jim Harbaugh a break, right? Because there's still the fact that he just he's not taken – Michigan's been good. They win 8, 9, 10 games a year. Like that's really good, but it's not great. And Michigan fans expect more. You don't expect to go that long without beating Ohio State. And I think the real defining moment in Jim Harbaugh's, tenure at Michigan so far was that game in his second season when they went down to Columbus. Winner of that game, was going to be in the playoff, Big Ten champion, or would have gone to the Big Ten championship game, I should say. And Michigan played a great game, and they lose it in overtime. I still think the Ohio State didn't get the fourth down, but whatever, that's for another day. But if Michigan had won that game, all these question marks about Harbaugh, they wouldn't have been there. Second year, would have beaten Ohio State, would have taken the team to the playoff. I think these last couple of years, even if these last couple of years would have gone the same way, I think there'd be a different thought on Harbaugh right now. But they have a lot to prove this year. This is the year that he is on the hot seat no matter what. And I know people say, he's on the hot seat last year. I dismiss that because of COVID. They've made every potential change they could have made on the coaching staff except for Jim Harbaugh. So we're going to find out. Like Don Brown, who was a great defensive coordinator for many years, his defense became predictable. Yeah. And in the biggest games of the year, great offenses torched them. They bring in Mike McDonald from the Ravens. Michigan's secondary was terrible last year. Baltimore, and granted, different league, right, NFL, but Baltimore's secondary was one of the best in the NFL for years and years. I think he's going to fix that. Michigan has a lot of talent on that defense still, and they're going to have a new system. They've got a solid running back core. There's still always going to be questions about who's going to win the quarterback job, at Michigan. But I think going into this year, this is truly, we're going to find out how much of this is on Harbaugh or how much of this was just giving too much time to other coaches that just weren't working and building a new system of coaches and getting the players to perform. Because there's no doubt that they have a tremendous group of players, but for whatever reason, those players just they weren't giving it their all last year. And I don't know how much of that was COVID or not having confidence in the coaching staff or what it is. And certainly as a head coach, you have to own some of that. But I think we're really going to find out, and we'll find out early into the season, what this identity for Michigan is going to be this year, and how people are going to feel about Jim Harbaugh, regardless of that big game in November when they play in the Big House against Ohio State.
So, remember a few years ago when John Beilein left Michigan and it was, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to the program? They're screwed. Well, fast forward to 2021, man. Juwan Howard is sensational, unbelievable motivator, great recruiter. And 2021, this team made the Elite Eight, Kevin. This program is in really good hands with him.
Mike, what's so amazing to me is Michigan football goes out and brings back one of their prestigious players in Jim Harbaugh, a guy that had success in college, success professionally, has lived, that life that a college or a high school football player would say, to go play for that guy and be able to do what he did would be really exciting. And it has not really worked at this point. Michigan basketball, they go out and do the same exact thing and get Juwan Howard, Fab Five, defined a generation. I mean, everybody still to this day talks about the Fab Five and what they did for college basketball. Has an incredible professional career. He wasn't a superstar by any means in the NBA, but he played at the highest level and won an NBA championship. He was an incredible assistant coach. And when you've got guys like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade saying that they would love their sons to go play for him, it's just incredible to see what Juwan Howard has done in Michigan 2 years onto the job. And I think you mentioned that recruiting class. Michigan brings in the number one recruiting class, this coming year. Caleb Houston, I mean, that kid's incredible. Musa Diabate, Kobe Buffkin. They've got some incredible players coming in on top of their core they already have. But why I'm not surprised about the recruiting class that's coming in and the players that came in last year and why they're performing well, if you're a high school, and we just talked about this with Harbaugh, and it hasn't worked, but it's been working with Juwan Howard. If you're a high school recruit, how could you not want to go play for that guy? He has accomplished and lived everything that you are hoping to have happen in your career, in college, professionally. It's just how you could not be excited about going to play for a guy like that versus some of these other coaches in college basketball. And I get it. People want to go play for, Coach K, because of the success at Duke. People want to play with Tom Izzo based on what he's done over the years. I don't dismiss that. But when you're a high school basketball player and you can go play for Juwan Howard, a guy who was on a team that defined and really changed the sport of college basketball, and then to see what he did professionally, I think Michigan's set up to be really good for many, many years to come. And it's a tribute to him. He's got great assistants too, Coach Martelli, right there. I mean, talk about a guy that has had, tremendous success in the college basketball world, and players have wanted to play for him too. It's very, very exciting to see what Michigan basketball is doing right now, and to dismiss anyone that thought this was going to be a bad idea or that, the sky was falling when John Beilein left. I think, if anything, Michigan's actually been even better.
Phil Martelli, you bring him up, and we're hitting on Beilein as well. It just reminds me of when I went to Bonnie, because all these coaches were in the A-10 at the time.
Yeah.
Phil Martelli was killing it at St. Joe's. You had Thad Matta at Xavier. You had Jimmy Barron at Bonaventure. You had Beilein at Richmond. You had Chaney at Temple. I mean, it was, man, the coaches were unbelievable when I went there. Final one for you. Do you think the college basketball transfer portal has gotten out of control?
It's a great question, because I like the ability for players to be able to make a decision to move Because a lot of times we've seen there are situations where they were recruited, to go play somewhere, and there was a big coaching change, or something about why they went there changed, and for them to have to be locked in and continue to play there, or if they were going to transfer, be penalized by having to wait so long to be able to play again at the place that they transferred to. From that standpoint, I've been okay with the transfer protocol. What I don't like about it is somebody that's disappointed or has a bad attitude because they haven't been getting the playing time that they were expecting to have, especially these guys that are freshmen or sophomores, to just be able to pick up and leave and go play right away somewhere else. That's where I have a problem with it. And, you can't draw a line in the sand and say only these players can go and these players can't. So, it's a tough one from that standpoint. I do think we're seeing a lot more transfers. We're seeing a lot more transfers than ever before. I think in some situations it's great. I think there's good reasons why those players should be able to transfer. But I think in other situations, it's not good. So, I don't know, Mike. I mean, I wane back and forth on it. I don't know if you can, set up a transfer policy that allows for, players based on key elements of what happened in their recruitment or what's happened at that program that has changed, that allows them to maybe, break away and transfer and be able to play right away somewhere else versus players that, have just had a bad attitude and weren't getting playing time and are able to go. I don't really know what the answer is to that question, and there's people that make a lot more money than me and are way more involved in the sport that can figure that out. So I think we'll see, but it hasn't really gotten to a point yet that, a team that has won the national championship has been made up of all transfers, or, some dream team scenario was put together. As we've seen in the NBA, where these guys go around free agency and, they try and assemble, a dream team of a couple players on a basketball team and, go on and win a championship. So I don't really know what the answer is. I'm okay at the moment. But I think the trajectory we've seen where players are leaving, and weird kind of weird opportune ways, I think that might be something they need to look at further.
He is the host of Hell to the Pod, Michigan football, Big Ten football, all over the major platforms. Make sure you download, subscribe, and listen to it. It's a great show. It'll be, I'm assuming, back here pretty soon, right, Kevin, with some episodes when football starts. So that'll be a good one to download for you podcast fans out there. And again, Kevin doing awesome work at Town Square Media as a general manager for a terrific cluster of stations, and he's on Twitter at krich, the number 23. Kevin, great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to see you down the line.
Yep, you know where to find me. 8 weeks of Saratoga racing season.
I do.
So I will see you at the racetrack, ideally, my friend. But no, I appreciate it. It's been it feels like we text and chat a lot, but being able to do this and hop on, always a lot of fun. I know we haven't done it in a while, so appreciate you inviting me on, and love seeing all the great work you do every day and engaging and entertaining the folks that tune in to your podcast and watch your videos online and write into you and engage with you on a daily basis. So keep up the good work, my friend.
Always amazing to have Kevin Rich on the program. I'm Mike Lindsley. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review for the ML Sports Platter, where you get podcasts on your smartphone device. We are brought to you by our friends over at Barks and Rec Doggy Daycare, Ken's Auto Detailing, and Rosie's Corner. If you're in and around Central New York, make sure you get on over to Rosie's for Fish Friday every week, mac and cheese on Thursdays and Fridays, meatball bombers, stuffed shells, lasagna, pizza wing combinations. It's all there right in front of the Brewerton Bridge on Route 11 off the Bartell Road exit. Gift cards are always available, and go find them on Facebook and Instagram as well. Rosie's Corner is a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor, and a tip of the cap thank you as well to the Swan and Whitaker families for their support of the platform. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.